Hello, Tomlin here from Chromatic Harmonica School. If you're getting into chromatic harmonica, one of the first questions you'll run into is this. Should I go for a 12-hole or a 16-hole chromatic? They look quite similar, but they actually feel very different to play, and they suit slightly different situations. So let's break it down in a simple, practical way. First of all, the main difference is the range. The 12-hole chromatic gives you 3 full octaves, whereas a 16-hole chromatic extends that downwards. So you get an extra octave below, an extra lower octave. So with the 16-hole, you've got access to deeper, richer low notes that you simply don't have on a 12-hole. So you can probably hear straight away it just opens up that lower end. Now that might sound like a clear win for the 16-hole, but there are a few trade-offs. I recently picked up a Suzuki Sirius 16-hole chromatic harmonica and I've been absolutely loving it. The tone is massive, it's really full, and having access to that lower octave is a lot of fun. It gives you a completely different color to play with. But it's not all upside. The first thing I noticed is the size and feel. It is longer, heavier, and at times it can feel a little bit unwieldy. It's easier to get lost on it compared to a 12-hole, especially if you're still getting comfortable with the layout of a chromatic. With a 12-hole, everything just feels a bit more contained and easier to navigate. And then there's the lower octave itself. It is very low, and while it's great to have, it's not something I'd personally want to use all the time. That said, it does have some really useful moments. For example, having access to that low A below the D on hole 1 draw of a 12-hole, I use that quite a lot for turnarounds in third position, and it gives you a really nice weighty way to resolve a phrase. So it's not just novelty, it can be genuinely musical. Now, another thing is the weight. Sometimes it feels brilliant. It's really solid and satisfying to play. And other times it can feel a little bit tiring. And that's usually when I'll reach for something lighter, like the Hohner CX-12 chromatic harmonica. And this actually brings up an interesting comparison. The Sirius feels like a very serious instrument. It's got that weight, that presence, and it almost encourages you to play in a more focused, deliberate way. Whereas the CX-12, on the other hand, feels a bit more relaxed. And that doesn't mean it's a toy, it's an absolutely fantastic instrument. But it doesn't feel quite as grown up in the hands. And honestly, I quite like having both of these options. Sometimes I want to be a bit more serious and a bit more focused, and the Sirius is perfect for that. Other times, I just want to pick something up and play without overthinking it. And the CX-12 is great for that. It feels lighter, a bit more playful, and a bit more immediate, not just because it's pink. So here's a really simple way to think about it. If you want something that is comfortable, easy to navigate, and ideal for learning or focusing your playing, a 12-hole is usually the best place to start. If you like the idea of a bigger sound, more range, and having those low notes available, and you're happy with a slightly larger instrument, then a 16-hole can be a really inspiring option. There is absolutely no right or wrong here. It just depends on what feels good to you and what kind of sound you're after. Personally, I think a 12-hole gives you everything you need to get started and make great music. And then a 16-hole becomes something that you explore when you want to expand your range and colors. Now, if you'd like a clear starting point, I've put together an Introduction to Chromatic course, which will guide you step by step through the fundamentals and help you feel comfortable on the instrument. You can find the link for that below. All right, take it easy. Happy harping.